Welcome to Pre, or otherwise known as Patty Reviews Everything, where I just get to review stuff that I like. And I just got back from watching the brand new Dragon Ball Super movie. It's Dragon Ball Super Broly, and I'm going to just give you a spoiler-free review, so don't worry, this is spoiler-free. I'm just going to give you my take on what I thought of the movie, things I liked, things that I didn't like, and, you know, overall, if you should go see it or not. So, you guys all know I'm a huge Dragon Ball Z fan and Dragon Ball Super fan. As you can tell, like, I have stuff back here. I have, you know, Vegeta statues. I got Vegeta pop vinyl. It's actually signed by Christopher Sabat, the English voice actor for, like, dubbed to Dragon Ball. I also own, behind this dead console here, I own all of Dragon Ball Z and GT on DVD. Well, this is in Blu-ray, but as you can tell, I like Dragon Ball a lot. You can even see my poster over here. I'm a fan of Dragon Ball. Is what I'm trying to get at. So, when I tell you these things, the things that I thought were a little off or I thought were really good, you'll understand from the aspect of, like, you know, someone who grew up watching this. One of the things that I did like, the animation was fucking beautiful. Whatever, because I know it's toy animation, but whoever he hired and whoever was like the animation director and whoever was like, who like carried everything, the animation, like how fluent it was so good. I will talk about some parts of the animation I thought was meh, but I'll get to that on like the negative side. But like the fight scenes, the characters, the line work, like the sceneries, like there's so many secondary movements going on that aren't necessary that a lot of animes don't do. Like, you know, animes like Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, like, you know, like even Dragon Ball for like its time, you know, like there wasn't a lot of funding for it, so a lot of times people didn't draw secondary movements. Like, for example, if you watch any episode of like Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon, the moment when a character talks, everyone stands still and it's just a character moving their mouth and no one else moves their mouth or blinks or moves or anything, and they do that for funding and to save money, and it gets the point across still, right? So things happen like that in Dragon Ball as well. But this movie is animated fucking beautifully. I will give them praises for that. Pacing for this movie was really good. It took a little bit to set up, but it was a gradual build up. So like the slowest part was in the beginning, obviously, where they're kind of just like giving the origin of Broly and all this. But it's a constant build, and that's what you want in movies. You don't want this, because people then complain about the lows and the pacing. But this was just constantly just gradually getting better and better and better and better as the story unfolds and everything. Vegeta, like Christopher Sabat and, you know, Sean Shem will obviously kill it, like, as voice actors. This isn't their first movie or even first time even portraying these actors. It's practically second nature to them. They obviously did well. I think all the voice work, even for dubbed, was great. I'm not like the biggest fan of dub. I usually tend to listen to everything in sub when I watch anime, but Dragon Ball is one of those few animes that, you know, I accept dub just because maybe I grew up with it. But even Sean Shem and Christopher Sabat did a great job with that. Story wise, I thought them redoing Broly's story was a lot better, because obviously the original story was like, oh, Broly hates Goku because Goku cried next to Broly and like that made him angry, and then Broly was just like, Kakarot, like the entire time. Like, that story is like, it's silly. Like, at the end of the day, it's a silly fucking story. So they redid it in a more realistic, more like, I wouldn't say dark, but it is kind of dark, because obviously this is during the era of Frieza ruling everyone. So it wasn't even like, I don't want to spoil anything, but Frieza is in this movie, and he kind of pulls a lot of the strings of everything going down when Broly fights everyone, because, you know, obviously Frieza came back to life after the Tournament of Power and Super. And yeah, just like, it's just great pacing, great animation, great voice work, and great fights, and it was just a very exciting movie. It's just a very well-made movie. Now, the things that I disliked, the first thing I want to talk about is animation. And I know you guys might be like, whoa, what the fuck are you talking about? You just like gave it so much praise of the line work and everything. So there's certain moments in this movie where they go from fully like drawn animation to then the 2.5 animation, kind of like literally it's the arc system from Dragon Ball Fighters put into some of these scenes, and it doesn't look inherently that bad. It's just, you notice it because the animation is so fluent, it's so emotional, there's so many characteristics to it, that when you see this like change, even though the spans of when it happened weren't that long, it was like maybe a minute tops at times where they put this in, It just, you could tell a difference. It didn't ruin the moment, but like, what I don't understand why they did it. I don't know if it was for maybe a funding purposes, because obviously, my bad, obviously animating like 3D models and stuff isn't as a, you know, it doesn't take as long as to animate, you know, like actual animation, because, you know, a 3D model you can kind of keyframe it and move it as is. As for drawing it to constantly because like a lot of these, they don't use a lot of still frames. There's a lot of like I said, when there's a lot of motion, you can tell that they did a lot of time not trying to cut corners. So it's weird that when these moments happen, they kind of cut corners with the arc system and use that for like some of the scenes. And maybe they did it because the scenes that they used were complicated to draw, but I would disagree, just because they drew a lot more stuff, like a lot more intricate, complicated stuff. And the moments that they had it like this, I just thought it was weird. It didn't ruin the movie, it didn't take it away from it. It's just, I would prefer it to be completely drawn out still, just because it'd be consistent. I think 2D animation is way nicer looking than 2.5 animation, because it just, the frames look up better, it has more characteristics, it's just more appealing to me. And also, another thing that I want to point out, no spoilers, but they give Broly the story, and they kind of give, like, they kind of show like Frieza destroying the planet, but the timeline doesn't really line up to Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, if that makes sense. So I don't want to get into spoilers, but like, the time frame of when it all originally happened isn't portrayed that way in the new movie. And it doesn't like ruin the experience, because ultimately the same events happen. Like, you know, Frieza destroys planet Vegeta, and you know that Goku is sent on Earth, and you know Vegeta was off the planet at the time. And it's just, when these events happen don't necessarily line up with what was already canon in Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. And in Dragon Ball Super, this movie is canon, so it's just like, I mean, it's not the first time Akira Toriyama is to like be inconsistent with timelines and shit like that. Like, he's notorious for having like insane plot holes in his fucking like saga of an anime. So like, it didn't ruin it. It was just, when I was watching, I just noticed that it didn't like 100% line up to what it was. And not saying what they kind of redid with it was bad, because it ultimately, you got the same outcome with what they did. It's just, as someone who grew up with the original, it was just a little weird to be like, oh, that's okay, they're changing it, all right. Also, this is more of a personal thing of mine, but I wish I could see more Vegeta in this movie. Like, Vegeta's in this film, like, without a doubt, and he gets good screen time. I just wish there was more of him, but that's more of a personal thing, just because he's my favorite character. Because, like, there's a part where Vegeta could definitely be in the film, and I don't want to spoil like what part, but like, if you guys have seen it or watched it, you guys probably exactly know what I mean. As in, like, there's a solid like 15-20 minute bit where he's there but he's not there, if that makes sense. The ending is kind of anticlimactic, but not really. Like, I was pleased with how it ended. It's just, it could have been set up to be ended a little bit better, but what they did was, instead of ending it as is, they kind of opted out to a sequel. Like, they set it up for another movie to come, and so it's up to preference if you would rather it end as a one movie or go off to a sequel. So I mean, I'm okay with a sequel coming, because I thoroughly enjoyed this film and I love Dragon Ball, and I'm okay with more Dragon Ball movies coming out as long as they're good. Like, to put it this way, this movie is light years better than Resurrection F and better than Battle of Gods, because my issue with Resurrection F was not a lot happened. The climax was very anticlimactic, and then the CGI in that film was fucking horrendous. I mean, like, Xenoverse 2 characters were coming up, moving at 12 frames, like, because they didn't want to animate all the minions and stuff. And I'm just glad that when, like, I wish they didn't use any CGI in this movie. I'm just glad that they did the arc system, which is really close, because it doesn't look that bad. It just takes a lot of the emotion and out that was already made, because you can't make a 3D animation like look very angry as you can in drawing, with like zooming in and all that stuff. Because the more you zoom in, the more you can tell that it's not animated. So everything was kind of at like a they kind of did the Jurassic Park effect. Like Jurassic Park rarely used CGI, but when they did, it was from a far away view, so you couldn't tell in detail that it was CGI, like the T-Rex and the Jeep. And that's smart. Like, it's good to keep it away because you're trying to cover it all up. That's like what people do with like action sequences with shaky cam. It's always to cover up, like, you know, it's to cover up the mistakes and the gray areas and stuff. So, like I said, this movie was very solid. And if you're a Dragon Ball fan, I highly recommend seeing it. If you're an anime fan, just from the art style, just from the animation alone, I would recommend it. The animation is fucking stellar. Like, from the get-go, just you could tell whoever was the animation director and who like was, you know, the head of storyboarding and all that stuff, just real, you could tell there's a lot of emotion that went into it. And I think out of the, was this like the trilogy of the new Dragon Ball movies, we had like Battle Gods, Resurrection F, and this one is easily the best one in my opinion, and I'm very excited to see where they go with that. But yeah, if you guys did see it, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Would love to hear what you say. I would rate this movie, I don't like doing numbers, but I would rate this movie as it's pretty fucking good. So you should go watch it. If you enjoy animation, you enjoy Dragon Ball, you enjoy having a good time, and you know, I would go recommend it. Go see it. Go show your support. You guys are great. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button, subscribe, check out links down in the description down below, Twitter, Twitch, merchandise, if you're into that. And with that being said, I'm gonna get the fuck out of here. You guys know me as PattyTrills. I'm out. Yoga.